a minute.
Cool. It says we're live on Facebook now, but maybe that's...
Yeah. Perfect. All right. Well, welcome, Dr. Josh Axe. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so excited to have you on our Facebook Live today. For those of you who don't know anything about Dr. Josh Axe, he is the founder of Ancient Nutrition and draxe.com. He's the author of the best-selling books, Keto Diet and Collagen Diet, and his upcoming book, Ancient Remedies, and the host of the Dr. Axe Show. I'm so excited because we're going to be talking about this great new book that is launching February 2nd on my daughter's 3rd birthday. So such a great book. Yeah, she's going to be 3.
I love that.
Yeah, so excited to have you on. Thank you for taking the time to join me and talk about the book, as well as some other things like gut health, hormone health, and some ways to keep ourselves healthy and boost our immune system using ancient remedies. So thank you so much.
Yeah, hey, excited to be here.
Great. So for those who don't know anything about you, can you briefly tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into health and wellness?
Yeah, so today I live in Nashville, Tennessee with my wife, Chelsea, and we have a daughter, 8.5 months old. Her name is Arwen. And I used to run a functional medicine practice in Nashville. I ran it for about 5 or 6 years, and then really focused on helping educate people on how to use food as medicine with my website, draxe.com, and eventually co-founded a supplement company called Ancient Nutrition. But what really got me into the natural health space was a health crisis in my family growing up. My family was into fitness, but knew nothing about nutrition. And we lived in what I'll kind of call the conventional medical system. Anytime we were sick, we took drugs. We didn't know there was a natural way. And at 41 years old, my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer. And when she got the diagnosis, she decided to go through all the conventional medical treatments, had a mastectomy, went through rounds and rounds of chemotherapy. And I can still remember this day, the fact that she lost her hair and how sick she was. And I remember thinking to myself as a kid, there's got to be a better way to get healthy. There's got to be, and also thinking, I don't want to see anyone have to go through all this suffering again. And my mom was eventually diagnosed as being cancer free. But the crazy thing was, after she went through all of these treatments, it really seemed like she had more health problems than ever before. She got diagnosed with anxiety and depression, got put on medications for those, had hypothyroidism, chronic fatigue syndrome, major digestive issues. And this went on for 10 years. My mom struggled with fatigue and digestion, just health issues. And about 12, 13 years later, I was studying to become a doctor. I was actually about 6 months away from graduating and going up and opening my functional medicine clinic. And I got a call from my mom, and she says, I've got bad news. Mm-hmm. I've just been diagnosed with tumors on my lungs, and I have all these other health problems. And she said, the doctors want to go in and do surgery. And she said, what do I do? And I said, Mom, I'll be home. Flew back home. And I was really blessed at the time to have some amazing physicians around me, mentors, who had taught me so many things about natural medicine. And so with my mom, at first, we just decided we're going to take a natural approach first at treating the tumors, at helping heal her gut and all these different things. So first thing we did is we started juicing vegetables. She did a lot of like celery juice and green leafy vegetables and that sort of thing. Also, she started drinking bone broth. And I was doing thousands of hours of research at the time. I mean, I was looking up ancient, the diets for cancer. I was looking up, herbs and supplements and things like that to help, heal the body. And I came across a lot about keto diet. I came across about Chinese medicine. I learned a lot about the, tumor fighting properties of turmeric and reishi mushroom and vitamin D. Yeah. So we put my mom on all these things, and it was really amazing. We went back to her oncologist 4 months later, redid a CT scan, and then we got a call from her the next day, and she said her exact words were, "This is highly unusual. We don't typically see this, but your tumors have shrunk by more than half." Yeah. She said, continue to do what you're doing. I want to see you again in 9 months. Went back 9 months later in complete remission. And today my mom's in her late 60s. She says she feels better now in her 60s and her 30s. She water skis, she runs. And anyway, she's doing fantastic. But that's really that experience with my mom, and then both the first time and the second time with her health challenges is really what led me to start doing all of the research on ancient remedies that help boost the immune system, heal the gut, fight cancer. And so that really led me to writing this book, Ancient Remedies, where I really go through in the book, like the exact foods that heal different conditions, the supplements, the essential oils, the lifestyle practices. So for instance, if somebody has hypothyroidism, the big thing I get into the book is like how to treat the root cause. Because Doc, this is one of the things I love about you as well. You know, watching your stuff, reading your stuff, is that you and I focus on this in the same way. It's like so many doctors out there today are treating the symptom. They're not getting to the root of the issue versus when you can discover, like you and I, really understanding how the body works. And so like hypothyroidism or autoimmune disease, we tend to think of that as an immune issue, but really a lot of those start in the gut. Some of them start with your hormonal system, like your adrenals. And so in the book, I really go through, here's how to treat and heal the root cause of those diseases. And so anyways, that's I know a passion we both share.
Yeah. And you know, one thing I really love about this book is you've got like 70 plus ailments in here that you go through, right? So you're explaining Chinese medicine, you're going through the 5 elements, which is so great for people who don't know anything about that stuff. But then you go into it and you talk about things like, okay, well, what happens if you have acne? You know, you give recipes, you give herb supplement regimen for that. And I love that because I think that's what people are looking for. And as you know, not just because of COVID, but everybody's trying to get healthier. You know, we've been on this health and wellness journey and movement for probably the last decade, and everybody wants to take more of a natural approach to their health. I know you see this, I see this, everybody wants to get away from pharmaceuticals, right? They want something in their medicine cabinet that they picked up from their garden. That's what they want to use. And that's what I love about this book is you have great examples. You even talk about CBD oil and the endocannabinoid system. Can you kind of go into that a little bit for us, for anyone who's not familiar with that?
Yeah, so I think, for years there have been a lot of misconceptions about CBD. And, one of the things that I found, or just cannabis in general, here's what I think everybody needs to be aware of is that different compounds have different effects on the body. And what's happened in the United States and many countries is people have taken this hemp plant and they have essentially modified it to where it was very high in THC and had very little CBD. THC is the compound that's going to give those hallucinogenic effects. It's why people would use hemp/cannabis recreationally. But there's another compound in there called CBD, which is very calming to the body. What it really acts on in a pretty strong manner is your parasympathetic nerve system. So it calms your sympathetics, reduces stress on the body. Medical studies have been shown that it greatly improves your sleep, can reduce anxiety. Also, it's effective at supporting indirectly things like digestion and chronic inflammation. So there are a lot of benefits of CBD specifically as an herb. What's interesting is it's first referenced in history in a Chinese medicine textbook as part of the, along with astragalus and ginseng and ginger and all these other herbals to be used in a certain way. I will give this warning. If somebody is using THC-based cannabis, it really drains your adrenal glands. That's what it's known to do in Chinese medicine. This is why if somebody overuses cannabis, they'll lose motivation. Yeah. It actually really greatly affects their libido. All of those are side effects. So I'm not here to promote in any form, recreational use of something like hemp, but I am here to promote that compound CBD that has tremendous benefits at improving sleep, anxiety, chronic inflammation, and so many other conditions. What's interesting about the endocannabinoid system is this system is connected to all of these other systems. In fact, you have receptor sites in your brain, in your gut. It's really is related to a lot of your different hormonal systems. And so when you can get CBD as a supplement, as an oil, or actually there are a few foods that also affect this system, such as kava kava, chocolate. There's some really unique ones chocolate. There. Yeah, that have this effect on the brain that is lifts your moods and spirits. Then I think those are all fantastic. If so, anyways, I do think CBD oil works really well for certain people.
Yeah, no, that's so great. A lot of controversy over the years, and a lot of people are unaware of it. And then there's a lot of people that think it's the miracle cure for everything. So,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's so great because I love that you put that in this book. I love that you came up with some really cool recipes in here as well, because I know everybody's always looking for new recipes, but even more pertain to kind of what you're going through. And especially you've got like a 7-day eating guide. Can you kind of explain a little
Yeah.
bit about that?
Yeah, well, one of the things that's so important, and I encourage everybody to think about this, is a lot of times we just hear, generally speaking, hey, this food is good or this food is good. Well, one of the things that I found, and this is the thing I love about Ayurveda and Chinese medicine, is they created the first personalized nutrition plans. I
Yes.
think we're going to see personalized medicine continue to explode here in the future. But remember, personalized medicine is over 3,000 years old. And in the book, I have it to where people can actually take a quiz to learn which of the 5 elements they are, which essentially is related to, do you need a plan that's more related to your immunity, your digestion, your hormones, your cardiovascular system, or other systems of the body? And then I lay out meal plans to help heal those systems. So for instance, if somebody is looking to restore their immune health, they want to be consuming more foods that are light yellow in color, that really build the health of the gut, the lower gut, the colon, and the
Mm,
lungs. So
mm,
some of those light yellow foods include chicken bone broth,
yes.
ginger herbal tea, garlic, miso. Like, these are foods that really help strengthen
Nourishing.
that
Yes.
system in the body. And I've learned too to tell people exactly what to eat for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner, have a whole shopping list in there. So we have that in the book, these customized eating plans, and then recipes for those as well. Like, one of the recipes that's great for boosting the immune system is a rice congee with chicken broth. So it's where you
Mm,
take a certain type of rice, you cook it in a slow cooker in some water or chicken broth to where it's kind of mush. But
mushy.
that's
Yeah.
been shown, actually, even in, there's a few studies in Asia that have
Yeah.
been shown this is one of the best meals for your immune system. It's great for, also just very easy to digest, so good for people with gut issues. We have
Yeah.
all kinds of different recipes like that in the book.
So speaking of gut issues, we all know that the immune system is linked to our gut. So let's talk about the gut for a second, like, because it's such a big topic. I see tons of patients, and the number one problem with them is their gut. So can you explain to our audience today a little bit about why we need to pay attention to our gut and how improving gut health can improve your overall immune system?
Yeah, so what tends to happen, and I'm going to start with this, there's a couple different things, but one of the big ones is a condition known as leaky gut. If you
Mhm.
read a medical study, they'll call it intestinal permeability. Permeability or leakiness means sort of like, you imagine a fishing net, right? That has little holes in it. Well, imagine you get a rip in that net. What happens is, with our gut lining, your gut lining is the barrier between sort of your digestive system and your bloodstream. If you get holes in this gut lining that get too big, certain things that shouldn't be able to get in your bloodstream enter in, such as undigested, food particles like gluten and casein, bad bacteria, toxins. Those actually go from your gut into your bloodstream. Then they shouldn't be there. So what your body does, your immune system says, "Whoa, hey, this gluten shouldn't be in the bloodstream right now." So then it really creates an inflammatory immune
Yeah.
response to then go and take care of this. But while that happens, oftentimes other tissues are damaged. And also during that process, if it happens continually over time, your body will start to not only attack those proteins that it needs to get rid of, but other proteins in the body, sometimes even your own tissues.
Mhm.
Hence, a condition like Hashimoto's
Yeah.
thyroiditis, an
Yes.
autoimmune disease, where then your body starts even attacking its own thyroid tissue. So that's really what happens there. So again, if you have a gut issue, it then signals an immune response. And if your body is dealing with all of these things with inflammation, it's also not able to fight off as well viruses,
Mhm.
bacteria, parasites, these foreign invaders that come into our body, essentially because your immune system has been overburdened and weakened. So now
Yeah.
it has less energy to, really support your immune function.
Yeah, that's so great. And chronic stress, everybody's been so stressed this past year with
Yeah.
the pandemic, and many people lost jobs, and many now kids are at home. I mean, a lot is going on, and chronic stress is something else that can negatively impact your gut and your overall immune system, correct?
Yeah, big time. One of the things that I don't think people realize is, and this is something that was known so intimately in ancient forms of
Yeah.
medicine, is your emotional health, your spiritual health, that affects your physical health. Here, give you some examples, and Doc, I know you know these, but for everyone here,
Yeah.
think about that. Like, and I'll correlate these with those 5 systems and 5 different types. According to Chinese medicine, there are really people come in when they come into conflict, they tend to experience different emotions as their predominant emotion. For some people it's fear, for some people it's worry, for some people it's anger, for other people it's sort of depression, for others it's anxiety. So we can experience these different emotions, but think about how these emotions affect your organs. If somebody has fear, it puts them in a fight or flight state. So what does that affect? Your adrenal glands, right? Or if a
Exactly.
child gets really scared at night, that emotion can cause them to wet the bed. So we know that emotions of fear cause dysfunction of the adrenals and kidneys and reproductive organs. If somebody has a lot of anger, we call them an angry drunk. We know the emotion of anger and frustration affects the liver, gallbladder.
Mhm.
Worry, if somebody worries, they'll start to say, "Oh, I feel like my stomach is in knots,"
Yes.
right?
Yes.
That sort of worry actually weakens the upper digestive system.
Yes.
What was known to affect the immune system was grief or depression. If you've had something bad happen to you in the past,
Mhm.
like,
Um,
and you haven't been able to let it go, that's the lungs, that's the colon, and then anxiety. Think about what happens with anxiety. Blood pressure rises, that
yeah.
affects the heart. So all these emotions affect the organs in different ways. I would say, Doc, the biggest thing I've seen, and I'd be interested to hear what you say, fear is probably the biggest emotion that I
Yes.
think people have experienced through this whole thing. And so, and I would also say there's an element of worry, and also, oh, I wish things were different than they are now. I wish we could go back to the way they used to be,
Yeah.
right? So those emotions, those 3 in particular, the fear really shuts down your adrenals. Your adrenals really supply energy to your whole body. So that actually affects the whole body.
Mhm.
Whereas worry affects your upper GI, which then affects your immune system. And then what directly affects your immune system, if you're in this state where it's very much like you're right, you're wrong, like this sort of like feeling that way, or oh, I wish the world wasn't like this. That's essentially you haven't been able to let something go. You're still that really is affecting the immune system. So all that being said, I've really focused on trying to teach people how to build their faith, hope, love, just have a more hopeful outlook.
Yes.
And it's not one of those things that I know you and I just talk about. It's one of those things that we both know it is so critical if somebody wants to heal, whether it's autoimmune disease or cancer or beat a virus.
Yes.
You weaken your immune system at fighting viruses if you are living in a state of fear. And so it's important that we foster these healthy emotions.
Yeah, no, I agree. Speaking of chronic stress, what are your favorite adaptogens and herbs to kind of help out people during this time?
Yeah, so I would say number one of my favorites is ashwagandha. I know a
Mine
lot of people
too.
talk about it, but it really addresses the root of what from an energy standpoint of what so many people need. Now, the medical literature all shows ashwagandha is probably the most effective herb today for something
Yes.
like hypothyroidism and adrenal fatigue. But Chinese medicine and Ayurveda promoted this long ago. It was actually known as a qi and yang booster, which basically means it strengthens your adrenals. That's what qi
Yep.
means. It strengthens your adrenals, and it also helps balance hormones like melatonin and cortisol and bring those back into balance, which is a really big deal for sleep. In
Hmm.
fact, clinical studies have shown ashwagandha not only helps lower cortisol, but because it does this, it helps balance melatonin, which allows you to get a better night's sleep. So ashwagandha, number one. After that, I would say actually, I'll talk about that with the immune one. I was going to say astragalus. It is one of my favorites, but
Yeah,
it's
astragalus is my
also yeah, so I think that's really good for people too when we're talking about especially gut and immune both. If you have an
yeah,
immune issue and a gut issue, astragalus is a great adaptogen. And I love a lot of the mushrooms. Reishi is a great
yeah.
long-term support. I think if you have a lung issue and maybe your energy is low, if you come down with something, cordyceps are very, very powerful. And then directly, there's a mushroom that has really powerful antiviral properties, and that goes by the name turkey tail. Turkey tail mushroom is very good for that. But I would say, generally speaking, for adaptogens, if you're looking for one go-to, ashwagandha is going to be probably the best.
Yeah, that's my go-to favorite. I've been using it for probably like 7, 8 years now, and
Wow.
and I can tell a difference like throughout. It really, the way I like to explain it to people is it keeps you level. It keeps you like
Yes.
stable. You're not doing up and down. And I notice when I'm taking it, I have more patience. I'm not as irritable,
Yep.
and people around me notice. So it's one of my favorite herbs that and adaptogens that I recommend to a lot of my patients. So
Awesome.
love
I
it.
love it.
Love it, love it, love it, love it. So let's talk a little bit about, one of the other things I've noticed with this pandemic, we're overly clean. I mean, with good reason. Don't get me wrong, right?
Yeah.
But that can also kind of also disrupt our microbiome, right? So
Yeah.
we kind of need to be a little bit dirty, right? So how can we be clean and dirty at the same time?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked this, because I wrote a book years ago called Eat Dirt, where I actually
Right.
really addressed this. Because listen, one of the things I think we've lost, Dr. Bandaya, as we've gone through this whole thing, is I think people have lost a big picture perspective. When people live in a state of fear and panic, they don't make, in fact, it's been shown medically in the studies, when you're in a state of fear and panic, you don't make good decisions. And so
Yeah.
even as a country today, even as the world, I think we've got caught up in this fear on the virus thing rather than focusing on, whoa,
Boost
hold,
your immune system. Yeah.
exactly. And what's interesting, so about a year ago, I did a podcast as soon as this virus came out, maybe it was about 10 months ago. And I talked about vitamin D, zinc, vitamin C. I talked about certain herbals like echinacea, elderberry, and astragalus. And I got flack from several people saying, how can you say this, that this is, could help fight a virus? There's no proof of that. First off, there's a lot of proof that these things strengthen the immune system. And I think a lot of people.
Exactly.
And so all that being said, I think we have definitely over sanitized. Okay. And we have to be wary of this, is that over sanitizing, those kill off the good bacteria in your gut, which is critical for your gut microbiome, which is critical for your immune system. And so there are things that are more gentle that have been used since almost the beginning of time that have more gentler properties, such as essential oils, even certain types of vinegar, actually using just heat, like hot water. These things actually have are just as powerful, but also without those side effects. They work more naturally with the body. They're just less harsh on your system. And so, like, for my wife Chelsea and I, we use a lot of essential oils. We clean our house with a vinegar and essential oil mix. We spray down things. We have our own hand sanitizer we use. But a lot of these chemicals, like one of them, triclosan, is in almost everything. And people can just look up the study, look up triclosan and what it does to your liver and your kidney and your gut.
Hormones. Yeah.
Big time. So this is the chemical, along with these other forms of antibiotics in these products, that are damaging to our system. And the thing I would just encourage people to remember, listen, herbs and medicine, they do have antiviral properties, but the biggest thing that will help you kill a virus is your own body. Here's the thing to know: your body heals itself. And if you, and this is the thing that you and I know, Doc, is that so many the people that are at risk, really at risk, are over 70 years old or are immunodeficient. Let's think about that term. Everybody who's actually at the biggest risk, I'm saying just any more so than a regular cold or whatever, that's the thing. They're immunodeficient, or they have another major medical condition like diabetes. Okay. So what's the best thing to do? Strengthen your immune system.
Exactly.
Using food, using supplements, using your lifestyle, getting outside, getting vitamin D. And it's really unfortunate that we don't have hardly any doctors who've gotten out and talked about this. In fact, one of the crazy things is I've seen a few doctors who talked about this and they're getting banned and censored. It's like, what, you can't talk about sunshine and vitamin D helping the immune system anymore? It's just, anyways.
Yeah. I know. Oh, so much crazy things going on.
I know. And I didn't mean to just go there either. It's one of the things I see,
I think everybody needs to be aware of what's going on. And I agree. From day one, I've been promoting, we need to boost our immune system. We need to keep ourselves healthy. This is why functional medicine is so important. This is why investing in your health is so important, because if you're not healthy, you can't take care of yourself. You can't take care of your family, right? Ultimately, that's
Yep.
what it comes down to. And so you could have all the money in the world, you could have all the wealth, but if you don't have your health, it means nothing. So yeah. So anyways, boosting your immune system is so important. So thank you for sharing some of those tips and talking about astragalus, because astragalus I think is another one of my favorites. Do you have any other favorite herbs that
Yeah.
you want to talk about that are great for our immune system?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think for starters, just to hit on astragalus again, if you have leaky gut syndrome, autoimmune disease, even hypothyroidism, but anything that is more of a long-term immune condition, I really, really like astragalus for that. And I even like it if you come down with something immediately. But I do think astragalus is the best preventative,
Yeah.
long-term immune support, and also good for healing and repairing the gut. After that, I really do like echinacea. I think in echinacea, if you have a lung-related immune issue, like a virus that's affecting your lungs and your breathing and your energy, echinacea is going to be at near the top of that list. And again, I mentioned elderberry. I like elderberry generally speaking for the way it just strengthens and activates the immune cells in your body. So it's very good for that. And I can get into others. There's actually some recent research on a TCM herb called Andrographis.
Oh, I
It's
love andrographis. Oh my
yeah,
God, my favorite.
it, in TCM, it's called King of the Bitters. And so one of the actions of things that are bitter is bitter helps drive out dampness, which is essentially phlegm and mucus and candida from the body. One of the things you want to do to heal is you want to keep your body, your blood and your energy just sort of moving and circulating through the body. You don't want things to be stagnant. Astragalus really helps things start moving through the body, and it really helps dry up phlegm, mucus, and it has antiviral properties. So that would be another one I really, really like.
Yeah. So I love it. I love andrographis. Those are so great. So great. Just a couple more questions before we wrap up. So I always like to ask people, how do you start your morning? What is it that gets you going? What's your favorite morning routine or something you're currently doing right now?
Yeah, what I do every morning, there's two or three big things I do. I do what I call a spiritual triathlon, and I mentioned this earlier. It's so big for our mental and spiritual health, and our physical. This affects our physical health. But I spend typically about 30 minutes to an hour. And listen, even if you have only 15 minutes, you can do 5, 5, and 5. But let's say you have, let's say you have 15 minutes in the morning. I'll spend about 5 minutes in a state of gratitude. Like I go on like kind of a praise walk, and I just thank God for my just how blessed I am to have a beautiful, amazing, loving wife, and for our daughter Arwen, and for the house we live in, and that I get to do what I love. So I spend about 5 minutes in just being grateful. I spend 5 minutes reading something that's going to help me grow. Typically, my Bible or a personal growth book or a spiritual growth book. So I'll spend 5 minutes in that, and then I'll spend the next 5 minutes in either essentially prayer or meditation. And like if I read in the Bible, like 1 Corinthians 13, that says, love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast. I'll think about, okay, have I been loving lately? How can I be more loving? How can I be more kind? Like, was there a situation where I wasn't as kind to someone as I should be? Do I need to go and ask for forgiveness for them and make sure I'm more kind in the future? Like, and I think about that, and then I ask God for that and have that communication there. But I do that spiritual triathlon every morning of gratitude, reading, and prayer. And I'm telling you, like, it just does so much for my day, for my mind, and reducing stress. Building faith helps you overcome fear. And then after that, I do a smoothie almost every morning. I do a superfood smoothie. What I typically put in there is I do a cup of coconut milk. I do a scoop of a collagen protein powder. And then I'll do like a cup of berries, like raspberries or blueberries or strawberries. So I'll do berries in a smoothie. And then I might add in a few extra things. I'll add in some greens powder, maybe a little bit of cinnamon or ginger, maybe even a handful of spinach. But I do kind of that superfood smoothie, do that every morning. And I'll just tell you, one of the things I've taught my patients in the past, doc, is that I've told them, I said, listen to this. If you are, learning about nutrition and just getting started and you feel overwhelmed, like, hey, you can't do everything, just change breakfast to start. Think about this. If you just change breakfast, that's a third of your diet. That's actually a pretty significant change. So I want to encourage everybody, hey, if you're not doing everything now, that's okay. Just change breakfast. That'll go a long ways in helping you heal. And I found too, like once I eat a good breakfast, I'm kind of even more motivated to eat a better lunch and eat better throughout the day. And so I think those are the two things that I do all the time that I think make a big difference in my health.
Yeah, I think you and I are so similar. We do about the same things. It's so great.
Nice.
And tell us, what would you tell your younger self? What advice would you give your younger self from everything you know now about health or anything?
I would say my biggest life lesson is you become who you surround yourself with, and also have a plan for growth, especially that spiritual growth part of your life. So I'm really conscious of, hey, who are the 5 people I spend the most time with? And I don't let them decide, I decide. And if there are people in my life that are really negative and discouraging and they're really not supporting me and being who God has called me to be, I don't spend time with them. And I really focus on, okay, who should I be spending time with? Who are people that I aspire to be like, or I love certain things about their character, their encouragers. So I really spend time with them. Like, for instance, I'll go tonight and do dinner with a couple of guys I'm really close friends with, kind of iron sharpens iron. Last night, my wife and Chelsea, had a couple over who we just love. They own like a paleo donut company here in Nashville. And so we spent time hanging with them. And so we're really conscious about it with other couples too. And hey, who are the kids? And not to say we don't always hang around. We're just intentional with those people. I mean, there are some people that are in your life that you got to spend time with. And it's sort of like, hey, I'm spending time because we're family, because we need to bless these people and really support them. But I would say that I'd say you become who you surround yourself with, and also have a plan, right? I think a lot of times we just sort of float through life without a plan. But if you want to reverse your adrenal fatigue, write down what you're going to eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Write down, schedule time in your week where you just get to relax and you can lower those stress hormones, and write down the supplements you're going to take. Like that's what I would say. Those 2 things I would say: focus, write down, hey, who do you need to spend more time with, and be conscious about that. Write down a plan for yourself in growing in your health and your spirituality and all these things. I think those are important practices.
Yeah. Oh my God. Love those tips. Love those tips. So, where can people find you?
Yeah, so I would say a few places. One, on draxe.com. It's draxe.com. I've got a website to where you can find out a lot of information. And you can also just search on Google or whatever search engine you use. Just search Dr. Axe, like hypothyroidism, or Dr. Axe collagen. I've written articles about a lot of these things. Also done different YouTube videos. Also, I'm Dr. Josh Axe on Instagram and Facebook. And also, hey, check out the new book. I mean, we have like Dr. Oz, wrote the endorsement. He rarely writes endorsements. And so many people are excited about this book. So if you're saying, hey, I want to get the root cause of my disease and heal this issue, this book goes through the supplements, the foods, all those things. And yeah, I'm really excited about the new book. I think everybody will enjoy that and benefit from it a lot. So
yeah, it's great. Like I said, I loved it. It's such a good book, a lot of useful information for everybody, easy to read. And if there's something specific that you want to look up, especially physical ailment like just constipation or diarrhea, you put it in here. So it's so good. So thank you so much for your time today. This was such a great topic, and so useful for everybody to learn about these things. So thank you.
Awesome. Hey, thanks so much for having me. It was an honor.
Perfect. We'll talk soon.
Thanks. All right. Hey, thanks so much.
Bye. All right, guys, that was so great. I'm so glad that we were able to have Dr. Josh Axe live with us on Facebook. This is the first time I'm doing this. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. I'm still trying to navigate the system, so I didn't really get a chance to answer your questions, but leave them. I'll try to get to them. If you guys are interested in functional medicine, interested in learning how to work with me, Dr. Bindya Gandhi, please make your free 15-minute discovery call with me. And we can go from there. My practice is in Decatur, Georgia, and I'm happy to see everybody. I see all kids. I can help you with gut health and optimizing your hormones and everything like that. So feel free to make your free 15-minute discovery call, and feel free to follow me on Instagram at Dr. Bindya MD, where I do more Instagram lives. And be sure to look out for my new podcast that is coming soon, launching in mid February. So talk to you guys soon. It was nice to see you guys. Bye.